Beneath every undisturbed forest floor is a free army of microorganisms that can supercharge your soil. Korean farmers figured out how to capture them centuries ago using nothing but cooked rice and a wooden box. And while the supplement and fertilizer industries generate over $200 billion a year selling synthetic solutions, these microbes grow for free in every forest on Earth. Today you are going to learn exactly how to collect them, multiply them, and turn your garden soil into something unrecognizable, all without spending a dime. This method is called Korean natural farming, and at its core is a technique for harvesting what practitioners call Indigenous Microorganisms, or IMO for short. It is a step-by-step process that takes wild fungi and bacteria from a healthy forest floor, feeds them, multiplies them exponentially, and then introduces them directly into your garden soil. The results, confirmed by farmers across more than 30 countries and backed by university research, include doubled crop productivity, 30% less water use, and zero need for pesticides. Every single ingredient you need is either free or costs almost nothing. No store visits, no subscriptions, no recurring purchases. Just rice, sugar, bran, forest leaves, and a little patience. But before we get into the method itself, you need to understand where it came from, because the story behind it matters. Korean natural farming was systematized by a man named Cho Han-Kyu, born in 1935 in Suwon, South Korea. As a young man, Cho traveled to Japan to study natural farming under 3 different masters. He spent years absorbing their techniques, but when he returned to Korea, he did something no one else had done. He fused those Japanese methods with traditional Korean fermentation principles, the exact same principles that give the world kimchi and doenjang, that thick fermented soybean paste that has been a staple of Korean cuisine for centuries. Cho understood something fundamental. The Koreans had been cultivating beneficial microorganisms in their food for generations. Why not do the same thing for soil? In 1995, he founded the Natural Farming Life School and Research Farm, and from there he traveled to over 30 countries teaching his methods. He became known worldwide simply as Master Cho. His underlying principle was disarmingly simple. Biology replaces chemistry. If you strengthen the microbial life in your soil, you eliminate the need for synthetic fertilizers, herbicides, and pesticides. You stop fighting nature and start collaborating with it. Now here is where it gets practical. The IMO process has 4 stages, and every single one of them uses ingredients you can find in your kitchen or your nearest patch of woods. Stage 1 is the capture. You cook rice until it is slightly firm, not mushy, just a little underdone. Then you place that rice into a wooden box or any breathable container, filling it about 2/3 full. You cover the top with a piece of breathable cloth, something like cheesecloth or a cotton rag, and then you bury that container under the leaf litter on an undisturbed forest floor. The ideal spot is beneath deciduous trees or bamboo groves, places where the soil has been building itself undisturbed for years, maybe decades. You leave it there for 3 to 5 days, and what happens next is remarkable. The native fungi and bacteria that have been constructing that rich forest soil begin to colonize your rice. When you come back, you will see white fuzzy growth covering the grains. That fuzz is your prize. Those are the indigenous microorganisms that have been engineering that forest ecosystem long before you showed up. Stage 2 is the feed. You harvest that white fuzzy rice, and you are careful here. Anything black or rotten gets discarded. You only want the healthy white growth. Then you mix it with an equal weight of brown sugar and store it in a jar. The sugar does 2 things simultaneously. It preserves the microbes and it feeds them. This mixture is called IMO2, and it can sit on your shelf for months while those organisms stay alive and viable. Think of it as a living concentrate, a microbial savings account you can draw from whenever you need it. But here is where the real magic happens, and this is the part most people do not expect. Stage 3 is the expansion. You take your IMO2 and mix it with rice bran. As the microbes feed on that bran, the population does not just grow, it explodes exponentially. You are turning a jar of concentrated organisms into a massive colony. The volume of living microbes you produce at this stage dwarfs what you started with, and it costs you nothing beyond a bag of rice bran. Stage 4 is the soil-ready inoculant. You take your expanded IMO3 and mix it with soil from your own garden. This is a crucial detail. By blending these microbes with your local soil, you are creating an inoculant that is perfectly adapted to your exact environment, your climate, your soil chemistry, your specific conditions. You are not importing foreign lab strains from a bottle. You are amplifying the organisms that already thrive where you live. That is what makes this so effective. The microbes are not strangers to your soil. They are natives. Now, IMO is the backbone of Korean natural farming, but it is far from the only free input the system offers. There is an entire toolkit of homemade solutions that replace expensive store-bought products. Fermented plant juice is one of the most versatile. You chop up weeds, comfrey, nettles, or even kitchen scraps and mix them with an equal weight of brown sugar. Let that ferment for about 7 days, then dilute it at a ratio of 1 to 1,000 with water. What you get is a liquid feed that delivers nitrogen, potassium, phosphorus, and calcium, all in bioavailable form, meaning your plants can actually absorb them immediately rather than waiting for chemical breakdown. Then there is what practitioners of JADAM, a related Korean method, call a microbial solution. You take leaf mold soil, boil a potato, add a pinch of sea salt and water, and let the whole thing ferment until it starts to bubble. That is another free microbial inoculant made from ingredients most people already have. And if you want to take composting to another level entirely, there is fermented mixed compost. You combine garden waste with rice bran or straw, bean cake, and seaweed or fish scraps, then inoculate the whole pile with your IMO. This produces finished compost far faster than traditional cold composting. We are talking weeks instead of months because those microorganisms are accelerating decomposition at a rate that a passive compost pile simply cannot match. So, does any of this actually hold up under scientific scrutiny? The short answer is yes, and the data is striking. A single tenth of a hectare of healthy, uncontaminated soil contains roughly 700 kilograms of microorganisms. That is more than 1,500 pounds of living biology in a plot of land smaller than a quarter acre. Korean natural farming captures and multiplies these native organisms rather than trying to replace them with something manufactured in a lab. Research conducted at the University of Hawaii College of Tropical Agriculture found that Korean natural farming methods doubled crop productivity, while reducing water use by 30% and eliminating pesticide use entirely. The plants grown with Korean natural farming showed larger fruit, longer productive periods, and greater disease resistance than both conventional and organic controls. A separate composting study found that adding indigenous microorganisms to compost increased both macro and micronutrient concentrations after just 30 days of decomposition. The evidence also shows measurable increases in water holding capacity, available phosphorus, potassium, and electrical conductivity in soils treated with indigenous microorganisms, while soil pH shifted toward the slightly acidic ranges that most plants prefer. But here is where honesty matters, and I want to be straight with you about this. The peer-reviewed literature is still catching up to what practitioners have observed for decades. A 2025 study published on Bioarxiv took a close look at what actually lives inside IMO cultures and found they are dominated by a limited number of bacterial groups, primarily Enterobacterales, Bacillales, and Pseudomonadales, plus a fungus, Rhizopus oryzae. Perhaps more surprising, fungal diversity actually decreased through the IMO stages rather than increasing. The method works. Thousands of farmers across 30-plus countries confirm this through years of field results. but the science on exactly why it works and which organisms are doing the heavy lifting is still being refined. That gap between observed results and mechanistic understanding does not invalidate the practice. It just means researchers are still piecing together the full picture. And honestly, that kind of transparency should give you more confidence, not less, because the results speak for themselves even while the explanations sharpen. Now zoom out for a moment and consider what all of this means in the bigger picture. Modern agriculture depends on synthetic fertilizers manufactured from fossil fuels. Soil degradation currently affects roughly 1/3 of the world's farmland. The industrial model has spent the last century stripping biology from soil and replacing it with chemistry at enormous financial cost to farmers and enormous ecological cost to the planet. Every bag of synthetic fertilizer you buy is a product of that system. Korean natural farming reverses the equation entirely. Instead of killing soil biology and substituting chemicals, you rebuild the living systems that healthy soil depends on. You feed the organisms that feed your plants. And the most radical part of this whole approach is the price. You do not need a garden center. You do not need a catalog. You do not need a monthly delivery service. You need a forest, some rice, a bit of brown sugar, and time. Every ingredient is free, or nearly free. The microbes are already in your backyard, in the nearest park, in that patch of woods down the road. They have been building soil since long before agriculture existed. You just have to go collect them. If you have been gardening for any length of time, you have probably felt that quiet frustration of spending money on products that promise to fix your soil. Bags of this, bottles of that, amendments and inoculants and boosters that add up season after season. Korean natural farming asks a different question. Instead of "what can I buy?" it asks "what is already here?" And the answer, it turns out, is everything you need. Try it with a single box of rice on your nearest forest floor. See what comes back after 5 days. That white fuzz on those grains is the beginning of a completely different relationship with your soil, one that costs nothing and gives back more than you might believe until you see it yourself. And if you have already tried this method or something like it, leave a comment and share what you have seen, because every garden teaches the rest of us something new.